Welcome to the Budget Hotline. In the run-up to the budget over the next few days, we'll be answering all of the questions that you have on your personal finance right here live on air at 6:30 p.m. every day of the week. If you have any questions, our phone number is at the bottom of your screen. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call us, and we have wonderful guests to answer your questions. Dhirendra Kumar, the CEO of Value Research, and Kartik, Jhaveri, founder and director of Transcend Consulting India. I'm so glad that both of them have come back to the show to answer your questions. Kartik is with us right now. Kartik, thank you for coming in. I have a question from Jamin Soni, who's written in from Ahmedabad. He says, could you suggest a few ELSS funds I can use to save for my child's future education? I have a time horizon of 15 years and I'd like to invest 5,000 rupees a month. Now, a couple of very good things to pick up from this question. One is that he's investing for his child's future, which means this is long-term money. And he will also be able to save tax by putting it in an ELSS. What advice do you have for him right now?
Yes, it's a brilliant idea, to start investing money prima facie for a child's education into a mutual fund, because that's the place which is going to create the maximum amount of wealth that he can possibly generate, which is one. And the second is ELSS or large cap schemes is a secondary thing. But he needs to really think about it very carefully. Does he really need to go into an ELSS fund to do this thing? Or does he need that tax benefit? Is his section 80C still incomplete, and which is why he must park a little bit of his money? If that's the case, then the answer is absolutely fine, no problem, go ahead. The reason I'm a little skeptical always to go to ELSS funds and do an SIP is because a lot of people don't realize that every installment that you're putting into SIP as an SIP into an ELSS fund gets locked for the next 36 months. So effectively, at the time that you may want to withdraw this money for your child's education, either the markets may not be conducive, the funds is not an open-ended fund, so you can't really move the money in and out of it, and things like that. So for example, if you have a little bit of gap left in your ATC and which is why you want to do it, by all means do it. But beyond that, I suggest that why don't you think about going to mid-cap funds with a larger concentration there. Because again, it's for child's education many years before we actually use the money. So why not put it in the path of getting the highest wealth creation even within the equity mutual fund space. So let's go to some mid-cap funds, and that's what you should do with the balance money, of course, after having taken care of his ATC
Kartik,
exemptions
under
that one.
And mindful of the suggestion that you give him, that obviously when I put an SIP into an ELSS, it gets locked in for 36 months. Now, a child's education is a fairly hard stop goal. It doesn't shift. It tends to be at a certain time, and he can predict that. He said 15 years away, which means that in year 12, in year 11 or year 12, he can stop the contributions and then start perhaps slowly withdrawing the money over the period of the 3 years to follow between year 12 and year 15, and that way be ready for his goal. So it's not necessary, that an ELSS is a terribly bad thing to do because of the 3-year lock-in that comes with it.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right.
No, not at all. I mean, it's not a bad thing to do. He can do it. See, but what also happens is ELSS, one is a close-ended fund. Second, it's a diversified kind of a fund. So we don't then get exposure to mid-cap and the places where he can actually keep his money open-ended. He doesn't even get to, let's say, restructure his portfolio at all, even in the interim period. It's a difficult thing administratively. So that's why I suggest that, don't put too much to ELSS.
Well, Dhirendra Kumar is also right now joining us on the show. Dhirendra, thank you for joining us. Before I move on to our live phone call, we have a phone call for you. A quick question about ELSS. We've had someone who's written in saying that he's planning for his child's future 15 years down the line, 5,000 rupees a month. Is ELSS ideally the best way to go? Is that something you would recommend?
Yes, it's not a bad idea. It should do it. And somebody getting started, the 3-year lock-in period in the first 3 years actually bring in a great deal of discipline. It also forces you to experience equity with your SIP, because most investors think of SIP, but they do it for 1 year. They stop at the instance of somebody who is not used to the market fluctuations. It is very hard to experience it in a full market cycle. So from that standpoint, I think the constraints of ELSS is a great thing. On top of it, he will get the tax break. And I think over a long period of time, most equity proves to be the best performing asset class, and within equity there will be certain segment which will perform better. But I think that stage comes later. First is to, the first target should be to beat inflation, then to beat fixed income return, and that is reasonably achieved, and then you have to manage yourself. That is very beautifully achieved with in a very simple way. You get the tax break, you participate into equity, you can't take it out for first 3 years, and if you are doing SIP, nothing like it. All the gains will be completely tax free, not because it's an ELSS, but because it is an equity fund. So you will experience everything, and you will have all the flexibility to move around your portfolio, make changes in your portfolio after your money is out of that thing. And in next 3-4 years, if he is doing it diligently, he will experience that, and he can gain experience.
Right. In fact, what I'm going to put on the screen right now are our ELSS recommendations for this year, both the conservative tax savers and the aggressive tax savers. Ramchandra is on the phone line from Bangalore. Mr. Ramchandra, good evening. Thank you for calling us. What's your question?
I need some clarification.
Yes.
Though I got retired, I had lot huge investment in the share stock market. Last year after retirement, I started trading also. Every 4 days, there is shares and I have to sell it. There is amount of short-term capital gain that is being accrued. What is if I can adjust the short-term capital gain towards long-term losses, long-term capital gain losses, could that be adjusted in the income tax schedule?
All right, I'll take that question to Kartik. Kartik, short-term capital gains on equity, can that be adjusted against long-term capital loss?
Okay, so first thing you need to understand that it is the short-term gain only which can be adjusted against short-term loss and vice versa. That's something you need to take care of. Now, if you have a short-term gain versus a long-term loss, but if this is a long-term loss which is not STT paid, which means to say that if you have sold your physical shares or some other assets which is off market, then there could be a possibility. But if you are selling your long-term shares on the stock market by paying the STT, then you will not get this benefit.
Always remember that short-term capital gains can only be offset against short-term capital loss and not against long-term capital loss. Ganpati is on the phone line from Chennai. Mr. Ganpati, good evening. What's your question?
Ma'am, good evening. I actually was 18 now. I am calling from Chennai.
Yes.
Mainly, see, there are many cinema stars and only one superstar in Chennai, that is Rajinikanth.
Yes.
Same thing, there are many business channels, but only superstar of business channels is your channel. We watch Economy ET now daily, day in, day out. Thanks for having a wonderful programs almost.
There is no greater compliment coming from a resident of Chennai than a comparison to the Taleva himself. So I'm very pleased. Thank you so much for that compliment.
Ma'am,
We
I am
really
a
appreciate
Chennai.
it.
Thank you, ma'am. I almost now watch. Only I am a Chennai. I deal in shares for the past 20 years.
Okay.
I have now close to 15 lakhs as dividend income every year.
Okay.
Recently, my account got scrutinized and they told me that this dividend income is not exempt from, this should be added to your business. This is not exempted. So they have asked me to pay tax. I have gone for an appeal. Every investor is having this problem. They say for a professional trader, dividends are not exempted. Can this budget, at least this 2017 budget, will give some clarification? And can you confirm dividends are exempted or not?
All right. In fact, we are looking for some sort of relief perhaps from dividend distribution tax on small investors. But Kartik, for Mr. Ganpati right now, does he have to pay tax on the dividend that he has accrued? Is it exempt in his hands by any chance at all?
So, for most of us who earn dividend income as a secondary income or as a passive income, there is absolutely no element of doubt that it is completely tax-free. Now, based on his records, the income tax assessment officer obviously has adequate reason, let's say, to believe that his primary work is only buying and selling of stocks, and that is, he's pursuing that as a business. There is also a little bearing on the kind of an income tax return that he has filed there. Maybe the chartered accountant or whoever filed the return, or if he's done it himself, may have said that this is income from business. You see, so in that kind of a situation, the ITO has a reason to to believe that you are doing a business and not an investment, and which is why he is making this kind of a demand. So as of now, he's already made an appeal which he has told to us. His appeal will be heard, and finally whatever the appeal order says, he will have to follow that. And if the order says that he will have to pay the tax, then yes, he will have to pay the tax, because that's his primary business. If it's business, then you don't get these exemptions that most of us otherwise enjoy, because for most of us, dividend income is a passive or a secondary income. That's not our primary profession or trade.
Yes, so that actually, Mr. Ganpati, comes down to very simple things. Kartik's put it very beautifully for you. If you describe yourself as a professional trader, and that's how you're showing, and you're showing this income as a business income, then you're not exempt. But if you're an investor, and then you might be exempt, but it fundamentally just depends on what the outcome of your current appeal is. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll come back on the other side and answer more questions. Phone numbers is at the bottom of your screen. Call us if you have a question about finance or if you have a question about tax. Welcome back. You're watching Budget Hotline right here on ET Now. We have both Dhirendra Kumar and Kartik Jhaveri answering questions. I'm glad to have them both on the show. Vineet Vora is on the phone line right now with a question for us. Vineet, good evening. What's your question?
Yes, it's like this, that I am having investment in income fund of ICICI Mutual. 6 monthly scheme, 45 lakhs, and monthly dividend scheme 25 lakhs for the past 4 months.
Okay.
And I am having another investment of 70 lakhs in equity arbitrage funds of ICI.
Okay.
I wish to know the tax treatment for my these 3 investments, please.
Okay. I want to first ask you this.
How would I be taxed?
What is the goal with which you've made these investments? What is this money for?
Actually, this is a short-term investment, because my son wanted this money to take to Canada for investment over there, and I was having this plus 1.4 lakh crores. So I invested them for a short investment.
All right. Okay. So it's a short-term investment. I'll take that question to Dhirendra Kumar. Dhirendra, income funds, arbitrage funds. What is the tax treatment here? Income funds first. If he holds them for a certain amount of time, he can he can claim a benefit, can't he?
Yeah. Income funds treatment, it's the way he asked his question looks like he's deriving the dividend, deriving return in the form of dividend. So the result of this is that all the dividend that he's deriving is his tax-free income, even from the income fund. But it is actually not tax-free, because there is a dividend distribution tax deducted before the dividend is paid. So, but in his hand, the dividends are tax-free. And post-dividend, I really wonder that there will be any appreciation. So, because the principal remains virtually intact. But assuming there is any appreciation after these dividend payout, if held for over 3 years, this will be indexed and taxed, which will translate into virtually no tax. And any redemption before that, before 3 years, any appreciation on that count in the unit value after dividend will be treated as his income. About the arbitrage fund, if he is deriving once again in the form of a dividend, all the dividend is completely tax free. Even the dividend that he gets from an arbitrage fund, there is no dividend distribution tax. And it is treated like an equity fund. So if he holds his arbitrage fund for over 1 year, any gain, if any, if there is any, will be tax free after 1 year. Before that, it will be added to his income. It will be taxed at 15% as an equity fund.
So the equity arbitrage funds will be tax-free after 1 year. Income funds, like Dhirendra said, depends on how long you're holding them. If you have more questions, you can get in touch with us. Chandra Babu is on the phone line from Kerala with a question for us. Chandra Babu, very quickly, go ahead. Tell us what your question is.
Question 2, part 1.
We seem to have lost that connection. We have an email from Sanjeev, who's written in. He has the NPS Tier 1 account in SBI. He said, is it useful to open the Tier 2 account as well? Are the returns better in Tier 1 or the Tier 2 account? So here's the question, Kartik, are the returns different at all in Tier 1 and Tier 2? We know that there's tier 1 and tier 2 of NPS, and a lot of people are now asking questions about the NPS because of the added 50,000 rupees tax benefit. But what is the difference between tier 1 and tier 2? Are the returns different? What is the difference in the treatment?
Yeah. No, one is the return, the other is, the features are very different. Tier 1 is the only one where your contribution in tier 1 is locked till your retirement. You get all the tax benefit for contribution only in tier 1, not in tier 2. So even assuming you are investing only for the extra 50,000 rupee tax benefit, your investment in tier 2 will not yield you that return. Tier 2 is nothing but an investment account. It is like a mutual fund. You can put your money anytime, take your money out anytime. It will be taxed as your income. And the performance of tier 1 and tier 2 is the same, except that tier 1 money gets logged in till your retirement. Tier 2 money you can use it like a bank account. You will use it like an investment account, like a bank. You can put money anytime, take out money anytime, no lock-in and no tax break.
So that's what you should know. Tier 2 is completely voluntary, which means that since there's no lock-in, there's no tax benefit either. So if you're looking for that 50,000 rupee tax benefit, you're not going to get it at tier 2. The performance though of the two are the same. Pratap is on the phone line from Hyderabad. Pratap, what's your question?
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm having two questions.
Yes.
One question is, I'm a professional trader in derivatives.
You're a professional? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Would you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm a professional trader in derivatives.
Okay.
So, on an annual basis, if I make a 10 lakh profit on derivatives, are there any expenses can I claim on that profit? That is the first question.
Okay.
And the second one is, like, what is the treatment of a bank account? Like, mine is my demat account is linked with the savings account. But because of the turnover, would it be classified as a current account or as a savings account? Because my banker says if I have a turnover of about 10 lakhs in my savings account, that will be reported to income tax.
All right. All right, let me ask Dhirendra that question. Dhirendra, for a professional derivatives trader who's making a profit of about 10 lakh rupees a year, he wants to know what sort of expenses can he offset that profit against? First question. Second question, does it change the category of his bank account?
Yes, if that is his profession, then allowable expenses of a reasonable kind, but that is all subject to the tax, tax inspector, looking at it that way, and it will be subject to scrutiny and question. But direct expenses should be attributable to a profession being carried on. And about the treatment of a very active savings bank account crossing a basic threshold to be treated as a current account, that's a different story altogether. Whether it will be reported to the tax authorities or a certain volume of transaction, I'm not aware of any such thing. Maybe the bankers are just trying to make him convert into a current account which will not yield him any interest.
All right, we've come to the end of this show. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. Dhirendra and Kartik, thank you so much for spending time with us this evening and answering our questions.
Thank you.
Our phone line remains open, and I'm hoping both of these two gentlemen will join us one more time before Budget Day and maybe once after to help us understand the changes in our tax system and how we have to cope with these changes as investors. We're here to help you on ET Now if you have any questions at all. Thank you so much for watching.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.